In today's video, we have a special guest, Trisha, who's sharing 5 ways to coach through conflict.
Hi, I'm Trisha Friedman, and on this week's 5-Minute Friday, I'm going to be talking to you about ways that we can coach through conflict. Anyone who has been experienced in coaching for even just a few months has probably come into that situation where there is conflict, and maybe you didn't start it, maybe there is some tension in a team that you are working with, or an individual who is really unhappy with a new initiative at their school, and it's your job to sort of help them rethink that, or maybe slowly start to consider becoming an early adopter. One of my favorite leading thinkers when it comes to thinking about ways that we can address conflict is Esther Perel. If you've listened to her podcast or seen any of your TED Talks, you know that primarily she works in relationship and marriage counseling, and you might be thinking, what does that have to do with schools? And I would suggest for this 5-Minute Friday that you think about an educator and a school as a marriage. They come together in a relationship. They each have their own values. Hopefully they align. Sometimes they don't perfectly. And that school is hoping that the teacher is going to make it a bit better. And of course, the educator is also hoping that that school is going to enhance their ability to really fulfill their vision for being an educator as well. So today I'm going to talk you through 5 things that you can do to coach through conflict. Number 1 is to put perspective into perspective. Sometimes we assume that everyone is seeing a situation the exact same way, and that probably could not be further from the truth. Something might have happened that week or last year that you have no idea any details about it. So just remember that the way that you are seeing a situation is not the same that everyone else is looking at it. Number 2 is I would highly recommend if you can see every interaction with a colleague or peer as an opportunity to foster trust. That's something that really, really helped me in my career, is just, again, to remind myself, whatever the situation is, even if the conversation is not going well, it's an opportunity for me to foster trust, for me perhaps to allow this other person to see that I do have integrity. That's really important. Educators are smart. They know when you are not telling them the truth. And so I do think it is always best to really focus on, I want this person to trust me. I have to be authentic with them. Number 3 is to really 110% make sure that the other person knows that you are doing everything that you can to understand their perspective, their thinking on the issue. And that's not just you saying, I'm listening, or you saying the words, I understand you, but it's also your body language. It's making sure that you're not just taking a moment to see what that alert on your phone or your computer was. In fact, if you're going into a situation that you know has some tension, or you know has a level of discomfort, make sure that you have your devices away. I think you want every single thing, every bit of your body language to really communicate, I'm listening to you, I want to understand more, and I really want to try to see it the way that you're seeing it. Number 4 is maybe actually my favorite, and this is something that I picked up along the way, is really to make sure that you're entering the conversation not from the stance of thinking, I need to win this conversation, or I need to score points. Any conversation that we're having with any of our peers is hopefully not about us winning, but I think sometimes we get caught up maybe in the agenda that is given to us, or the plan that is laid before us for the year, and we just think we have to win. And the reality is, if that's the mindset that you're going in with, you're probably not going to be able to take the next steps in whatever that plan is anyway. The 5th one is, I think, really helpful. And again, I know that as educators, many of us are also really great at planning. Often we're thinking a month or a few weeks down the road. And I think the fifth point that I would suggest to you is to be willing to put a pin in it. If 5 or 10 minutes into the conversation, you can tell that whatever conflict is happening, if it's peer-to-peer or if it's that person's own internal conflict, if there is that much resistance, I think it's really worthwhile for you as the coach to be willing to say, you know what, this is actually not the right time for us to discuss this. Why don't we come back to this next week? Or why don't we come back to this over the weekend? I think sometimes, a peer or a colleague will really feel valued by you when they realize you're willing to work with their schedule, and you're not just, moving forward based on your own schedule. The bonus point that I would like to make is sort of related to that. And if you are flexible in when you have that conversation, you might also want to consider to be flexible in terms of where you have it. If you are anticipating a conversation or a meeting is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, you might want to think about the setting. I find sometimes suggesting even, let's go for a walk and talk is really great, because sometimes that educator is just really feeling the weight and the stress of the job. And I think it is important for us to remember that educators really do pride themselves in the work that they do, but they are often juggling so much. So if you can just do anything to make them a little bit more comfortable and say, let's take this meeting outside, or if you have a sort of a little cafe or an area where you can get coffee and you suggest, like, let's have this chat over a cup of tea, sometimes that can also just sort of lighten the mood a little bit, and help that person relax. And I think it's also important to just not make assumptions about where this conflict is coming from. In the same way that we often tell teachers, don't necessarily listen to the reputation that others are maybe imprinting on a student, we have to really do the same when it comes to our colleagues. So I hope that you find some of those tips and tricks for reframing coaching through conflict useful. If there's one that you think we should have mentioned in this video, please let me know about it in the comments section below.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Then you will love the Coach Microcredential program. We know because our current participants are always sharing their feedback with us, and we ask them to share their experiences with you.
I'd really advise anyone interested in taking the coach to take the plunge and go for it.
So do it, and you won't regret it. Yeah, you'll really enjoy it. It's a valuable experience.
So I say go for it. Definitely take the coach. I couldn't recommend it more.
So I'd highly recommend it. I would definitely suggest you try and join to really help you develop your professional coaching skills.
But overall, this course is fantastic because it's made me feel awesome. It's made me feel excited for my future. It's given me really great skills to help others, and hopefully I can help others to feel the same way.
So I highly recommend it.
If I were to give any piece of advice or message to future cohort members, it is to take the course. If you are on the fence, please take it.
When you're ready to learn more about the coach, click on the link below or reach out to us at Eduro Learning on any of our social media platforms. Registration for our next cohort opens soon. Don't miss it. Expand your professional learning network, dive deep into 26 weeks of curated coaching content, and get your own private mentor for an entire academic year. We can't wait to work with you. Are you ready to take your coaching skills to the next level? Join the next cohort of The Coach and make it happen.